Welcome back to Beast Wars Wednesday. I am your host, Decepticon Doug. Here's your other host, Predacon Paul.
As it says right there.
Today we are talking about
Fallen Comrades.
the episode starts. One of the Stasis pods is falling from orbit. The very first one is coming down, and both the Maximals and the Predacons are aware it's coming, and they are stoked because that means somebody is coming away with a brand new Predacon or Maximal.
Mm-hmm. The Maximals had to eject the pods because they ran out of main power, and they got caught in the gravity well of the planet, and they started falling. While they were falling, they ejected all the pods, hoping that they would be safe.
One of them's finally coming down. So we have Optimus decides his strategy to get the stasis pod. He's going to send himself, and the ground troops are going to follow, but he wants to get to the pod first.
So he can begin the process of reprogramming it. Megatron is like, this is the perfect time to strike. He decides to send his two flyers, but not at the pod, to attack the Maximal's only flyer.
He knows that Optimus is going to go first, so he sends Pterosaur and Waspinator to disable. Well, he wants them to kill Optimus, but really, look, they're not going to succeed at killing Optimus.
Optimus really wants to go, but Dinobot is like, no, something's up.
He knows Megatron a little bit better than Optimus, and he thinks that Megatron's going to try a different tactic, and he's right. When Optimus is about to leave, he gets pegged in the rocket pack.
Okay, come on. Optimus, before he flies off, stops in midair and turns around, right? And he goes, make sure you get a ground party to, follow me once I... Really? Does he have that little faith in his own troops that he can't count on them to think on their feet?
But anyway, when it comes down to it, doesn't really matter because Optimus gets shot down. Waspinator gets him in the backpack. Pterosaur uses little twin cannons, gets him right in the chest plate, and Optimus goes down. Now, Dinobot does dispose of Pterosaur and Waspinator. They fly away to report back to Megatron. Optimus is no longer able to make the journey to the stasis pod, so it's up to the land troops, particularly Rhinox, Rattrap, and Cheetor, to run and get the stasis pod themselves. Dinobot, his weapons took damage in the fight, so he's sticking around at the base with Optimus in the repair chamber.
Because there's two Maximals that are out, Megatron decides that, okay, now's the time. We'll send the flyers because the Maximals are down a flyer. We're definitely going to get to the pod first. I'm going to go with Scorponok and Tarantulas and see if we can take the base. A two-pronged attack. A genius strategy.
The land party gets attacked by Pterosaur and Waspinator because there's a bridge that the Maximals need to cross in order to get to the pod. But due to this ambush from Pterosaur and Waspinator, who actually, you know what? In this episode,
they were quite efficient.
They actually do their jobs pretty well, which is uncommon for a Pterosaur and Waspinator. But they disable Optimus and they stop the Maximals in their tracks. So they have to take the long way around to get to the pod, ensuring that the Predacons are going to get to the pod first.
So the Maximals are basically, screwed, as they say.
They get in contact with the Maximal base, tell them that they're not going to make it to the pod in time. Dinobot consults Optimus, and actually what's a pretty cool scene.
Megatron shows up at the base. Dinobot and Optimus have worked out a plan to bounce a laser beacon off of the frickin' moon.
As Dinobot is setting up the array to send the signal, Megatron comes in, and he gets Scorponok and Tarantulas to kind of get behind Dinobot while he's talking to Dinobot, offering him a chance to surrender over the Maximal base. And he's like, hey, you can be on our side again. You'll be my lieutenant. All the Maximals are gone. Optimus is injured. Just give me the base, and the Beast Wars are over. You and I will be in charge. We'll rule the galaxy. Sound good? Dinobot, being the smart guy and also the honorable warrior that he is, tells Megatron, hey, bozo, get out of here. Dinobot shoots his eye lasers, hits Megatron right in the chest. Megatron, he did not enjoy that.
I sure felt like getting kicked in the chest.
Vaporize him! Pow! Right in the back. Dinobot takes a missile, or two missiles, but that's okay because he just activates the autocannons.
In the field of view perfectly is Scorponok and Tarantulas. And Tarantulas decides to sidestep, and just gets blasted. And he goes flying. So Scorponok is sitting there shaking, but his anxiety gets the better of him. Like, really shaking.
This is a good reason for him to get the jitters. It's not a happy situation to be in. And he gets blasted off as well. And then Megatron's like, well, there goes that opportunity. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, okay, screw that. It was worth a shot. Let's go to the pod. So the plan is a success. The pulse beacon goes off of the moon, hits the pod directly.
Pterosaur and Waspinator actually get to the pod way before the Maximals. They can't open it. And this is the last time you'll see Waspinator's eye lasers. The Maximals actually do show up, and they're like, hey, stay away from our stasis pod because that's our mission objective. Megatron shows up, and he's like, hey, this pod is totes mine, guys.
I claim it.
Yeah.
He licked it and everything.
To make his point very clear, he gets ready to blast a couple of wild white tigers. You guys are not going to get this pod because you won't let me kill these tigers. Because I'm a bad guy and you're good guys.
Yeah, he knows their weaknesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Maximals have compassion. That's just the way it is. So they stand down. By the way, Optimus Primal's all healed up and he's on his way on his jetpack. They open up with the stasis pod. What's this? There's no protoform Maximal.
It's empty.
They close it, they open it, still not there. So
Fudge cookies.
Megatron's like, where's the protoform Maximal? A voice comes from one of the tigers.
Right here.
Tigatron, maximize!
And he just flattens everyone and shows a nice tiny little like tactical nuclear bomb up Megatron's ass as he's jumping over a hill.
The Maximal's like, woo! And Optimus comes down and he's like, hey, how's it going there, Maximal? Guess what happened? We saved you.
Welcome to the club.
You want to go back to our base? We have a few beers? And Tigatron's like, no, guys. I don't really remember who I am. I feel kind of like I'm more tiger than I am robot. Look, I'll be around, but I really don't want to hang out at your base. It's a little cramped. Relax a little bit of snow. I really like the snow. And Rat Trap smells. It's in the subtext. He doesn't say that right up, but you can definitely tell that's what he's thinking. He looks up at the moon as the Maximals go home, and he's like, something cryptic and wise sounding.
Let the trails lead where they may. I will follow.
Predacon Paul, what did you like about this episode?
This episode feels nice and layered, fun and full.
Right away, we get a sense of gravitas. The stakes are high. This is the first time that a stasis pod has fallen. Something big is going to happen by the end of this episode.
I don't even think they went out of their way to establish what they were going to do with the stasis pods. They hit you with it. It's like, boom, stasis pod is coming down. It just cracked in sector, whatever. We got to go before the Predacons get there.
But they never outright say there's potential for the Predacons to reprogram the Maximals in the stasis pod.
Do you think that idea was established before, or that was something that, they were like, oh, what if the Predacons could reprogram them?
I think that it was something that they thought about before because the setting is really isolated. They needed to find a way to be able to add cast members as the series progressed. And I think that the stasis pod solution is a good one. It's pretty smart, actually, because it instantly raises the stakes. Boom, a stasis pod comes down, there's a life on the line. They get restored either to their maximal identity, or they get reprogrammed entirely as a Predacon and become an enemy of the Maximals, and they lose who they were.
No matter what it is, they have to drop whatever it is they're doing and go after that pod. That becomes the number one priority.
It really shows in this episode. Like, right away, it's the tension of a race between two factions to get to the pod.
Okay, what I really, really enjoyed about this particular episode, it establishes that Optimus himself can be flawed too. No matter what situation it is, Optimus is really, really good at thinking his way out of it, being a really strong leader, really thinking ahead. He's so emotionally connected to
his crew being recovered
that it overrides his logic circuits, as Dinobot puts it, I think, to a point where he starts making errors in judgment.
It humanizes him.
Because he seems almost Captain America. He's too good.
Yeah, things always kind of go the way Optimus planned it to. He's like, yeah, sometimes crazy works.
But in this situation where it could really change the face of Beast Wars,
he makes a bad judgment call, and it turns out that the real tactician of the episode is Dinobot, who really comes through as a character. This was, I feel, a turning point for me, in that I was 100% sold on Dinobot being loyal to the Maximals. That confrontation with Megatron, he actually could have surrendered the base and turned the tide of the Beast Wars and basically rejoined the Predacons and backstabbed his new buddies, but he actually stuck to his guns.
I challenge that notion.
All right, counterpoint.
Not really a challenge so much as it's like a different perspective. True. Dinobot did decide to stick with the Maximals, and he had their back over Megatron's when he could have very easily just gone, okay, here's the keys to the base. But, as you stated, Dinobot is a tactician. There's one thing that we've known about Dinobot is he's got all this guile. With all of that intelligence, he would know, come on, as if Megatron would forgive him.
Especially after that walloping he gave him in Chain of Command.
Yeah.
I bet Megatron's just itching to give that back.
Yeah, the second he lets down his guard, he's going to kill him. I think the relationship and the betrayal between Dinobot and Megatron is much more personal than the one between Pterosaur and Megatron.
Megatron can't trust Pterosaur, but he also knows Pterosaur can't beat him. Megatron doesn't trust Dinobot, but Dinobot could beat Megatron. So Megatron understands Dinobot's power.
There seems to be like a master-protege thing going on. I think there's also something more.
There's definitely something personal. There's bad blood between them.
It's like a father losing his son to an enemy. Like, you don't turn your back on family type thing.
Like, Pterosaur's the son that never had any promise. Yeah, we keep him around because he's not going to be able to take care of himself. Dinobot was like the son who should have taken over the family business.
And the fact that he's a Maximal, like, to him that's sickening.
He didn't just run off and do his own thing. He ran off and joined the enemy.
And has allowed himself to change.
And it shows in this episode that Dinobot is making that change. He's still Predacon at heart.
Yeah, he is.
He's still got rage issues.
Eat slag! Cowards, face me!
Fallen Comrades has a really cool tone. There were smart choices made all throughout. Like, very subtle music choices. It takes place at night, which actually, like, adds a lot to the tone of the episode. Despite the fact that the stakes are high and the outcome of this Protoform Maximal is a huge deal, there is a calmness about it. Particularly, I love this scene where Dinobot consults Optimus by activating his core consciousness, and then there's a hologram of Optimus' face that appears. Dinobot's gears are in motion. He's trying to like solve his way out of this predicament. The race is happening elsewhere, but here, the two tacticians of the Maximals trying to solve this problem a different way.
Yeah, it's that whole think outside the box. So the flyer doesn't work, so the runners don't work, and those are their only two choices physically, but what could they do outside that? Well, send a signal. It's like, okay, well, that's not going to work. Oh, I know. Laser beacon. Well, there's nothing to bounce it off of. Clouds. And then, oh, the moon. When there's the reveal, like, I even knew it when I was a kid. I was like, they're going to use the moon. Because they never come right out and say it. But then they end up using the moon, and you're like, Okay, what didn't work? This has always been a problem that I've had with the series. Predacons are just inherently evil for the sake of being evil. Yeah, and it's just like as simple as changing their identity circuits to all of a sudden make them enjoy killing and all that other stuff, as opposed to, being compassionate and empathetic. It didn't click with me when I was a kid. I didn't like it even then. It's almost Saturday morning cartoonish. The bad guys are evil and the good guys are good, right? And the show, I feel like, has the potential, and it was much more complex than something as black and white as that.
Especially considering what they have established with Dinobot and his very complex nature.
How would a society function if everyone's treacherous and conniving and constantly up to something? Look at how much they don't function even in a small group.
It's true, yeah.
That's what doesn't work for me.
It sort of opens a question to a bigger question. Same with me, actually, in that like this kind of opens up more questions. It's not really clearly established at any point in the series what exactly the crew were doing in the stasis pods. Were they blank protoforms, or did they have personalities beforehand? This just adds to those questions because Tigatron, his identity circuits are wiped. He comes out of the stasis pod, he thinks of himself as a tiger. We don't really get a good sense of like what is really going on with the stasis pods. What is the nature of the Maximals? Why were they all in there? I guess it's just too many questions that I just feel don't really get answered. And I don't necessarily expect this episode to answer them, but I just feel like it never got answered. What can you do? But everything else in this particular episode actually works really well. I don't know about you, Predacon Paul, but I love Fallen Comrades. I think it is top tier first season of Beast Wars. It's important as far as the overall arc because you add Tigatron. It's important on character level because you get to see everybody, but you also get character building on Dinobot, Optimus, and kudos to Pterosaur and Waspinator. They get the special gold star in this episode for doing a pretty good job when that's not the norm for them. Wasp and Air for just walking off, having a giant boulder drop on them.
Yeah.
Fallen Comrades.
5 out of 5 stasis pods. It just feels like a nice fat, thick,
Nice,
juicy burger.
Nice fat Beasties burger.
Beasties burger. Oh, that sounds delicious.
Thanks again for watching Beast Wars Wednesday. If you like this video,
Give us a thumbs up.
give it a thumbs up. Please.
If you want more content like this, subscribe.
True. So yeah, I guess that's a good point. Is that they were.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a very, very good point.
Do you see what I have to put up with?